Okay, I'm going to be honest with you right out of the gate. When I saw the research packet for today's deep dive, I actually double checked. I wanted to make sure you hadn't sent me a recipe by mistake.
I had a feeling you might say that.
I mean, come on. We cover some really cutting edge stuff on this show.
Yeah.
We've done AI, longevity protocols, space travel, and today you want to talk about beef fat.
Specifically, putting it on your face.
Yes. Right. Rubbing the stuff I associate with, a cast iron skillet or a really decadent burger directly onto my pores. I just need you to acknowledge the massive mental hurdle here. It sounds like a kitchen experiment gone wrong.
Or like something a pioneer would do because they ran out of soap.
Exactly.
It does sound primitive, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
It triggers that ick factor for a lot of people initially. But here's the thing. This isn't just some fringe DIY trend. People melting down leftover brisket trimmings in their garage. This is a massive, booming movement in the skincare world. It's a full-blown renaissance.
A renaissance of lard.
A renaissance of biochemistry. Look, our mission today isn't to convince you to, start frying your face. It's to look at the data we have. Specifically, some fascinating insights from Private Label Beauty and Wellness, a major manufacturer down in Florida. These guys are on the front lines formulating this stuff at scale. And their data suggests something really surprising.
Which is?
That we might have spent the last 50 years over-engineering skincare, only to realize that nature had a better solution waiting for us the whole time. The term they use is nature's ultimate moisturizer.
Bold claim. Ultimate. I'm looking at my bathroom counter right now, and I see like 5 different bottles, serums, toners, emulsions that all claim to be the ultimate something. They cost a fortune, and half the ingredients look like they belong on a periodic table. Are you telling me a tub of beef tallow can compete with that?
Not just compete.
Yeah.
In many ways, chemically speaking, it outperforms them. And it all comes down to one concept. If you take nothing else away from today, remember this word, biomimicry.
Biomimicry. Okay, I know the term. It's when engineers design trains to look like kingfisher beaks to make them faster, copying nature.
Exactly. But in this case, the design problem is your skin barrier. Here's the core scientific argument. The lipid profile of beef tallow, the actual molecular structure of the fat, is almost identical to the lipid profile of healthy human skin oil.
Sebum.
Sebum. Right. If you analyze the oil on the face of a healthy 22-year-old, you're going to find a specific ratio of triglycerides, fatty acids, all that.
Yeah.
Tallow mirrors that ratio more closely than almost any plant oil on the planet.
Wait, closer than coconut oil?
Oh.
Or jojoba? Or almond oil, because those are the natural go-tos everyone talks about.
Much closer. See, plant oils are great, but they are chemically distinct from what our bodies produce. Coconut oil, for instance, has a very different fatty acid chain length. It can kind of sit on top of the skin, or worse, clog pores. The molecule is just too big or heavy in the wrong way. But tallow, your skin cells practically recognize it as self.
So it's a case of mistaken identity, but in a good way.
Ideally, yeah. Think of it like a lock and key. Synthetic moisturizers or even mismatched plant oils are like trying to jam a key into a lock that's slightly the wrong shape. You might get it to wiggle in there, you might cover the keyhole, but you're not unlocking the door. Tallow is the master key. Because it mimics our biology so closely, it doesn't just sit on the surface, it integrates.
That would explain the absorption claim, because the source material really emphasizes that it absorbs deeply. My fear, obviously, is looking like a grease ball. I imagine putting animal fat on my face leaves me looking like I just ran a marathon in high humidity.
And that's the common misconception. Because of that biomimicry, your skin absorbs it so rapidly it just drinks it in. When you use synthetic lotions, often that smooth feeling you get is just silicone sitting on top of your dead skin cells. It's like shrink wrapping your face. It feels smooth, but the skin underneath is still starving. Tallow restores the moisture barrier from within the matrix itself.
Okay, starving is an interesting word choice there, because we aren't just talking about lubrication, right? If I just wanted to be slippery, I could use motor oil. We're talking about feeding the skin.
Precisely. This is where we move from the physics of it, the absorption, to the nutrition. The source from Private Label Beauty highlights that high-quality tallow is basically a multivitamin stack.
A multivitamin for your face.
Yes. And I know, every skincare brand claims their product is nourishing. But let's look at the specifics here. The bioavailability. Tallow is naturally rich in vitamins A, D, K2, and E.
Okay, stop there. Vitamin A. Most of our listeners know vitamin A as retinol. It's the gold standard. If I go to a dermatologist for anti-aging, they give me a retinol prescription.
Right. But anyone who has used a high-strength synthetic retinol also knows about the retinol uglies.
Oh, yeah. The peeling, the redness, the burning. It feels like you have to destroy your face to save it.
That's because synthetic retinol is often delivered in a way that is incredibly harsh. It forces cell turnover at a rate the skin sometimes just can't handle without irritation. But in tallow, you have naturally occurring vitamin A in a fat-soluble form. It's buffered by the very lipids your skin needs to heal.
So you get the turnover, the fresh skin cells, the anti-aging effect without the chemical burn.
Exactly. It's gentle. It signals the skin to rejuvenate rather than, forcing it. Then you have vitamin D,
It's a sunshine vitamin.
which is actually a hormone precursor. In the skin, vitamin D is crucial for the immune response. If you have skin that's angry, red, inflamed, reactive, it's often crying out for that immune support. Vitamin D helps calm the storm. It's a primary reason the source suggests this for conditions like eczema.
I do want to circle back to the conditions in a second, but you mentioned K2. That's one I take as a supplement for my bones, but I've never heard of putting it on my face. What's K2 doing for my skin?
This is the deep science part that I find fascinating. In the body, K2 acts like a traffic director for calcium. It tells calcium to go into your bones and out of your soft tissues. You don't want calcified arteries, right?
Right. Crunchy arteries are bad.
Well, you don't want calcified elastin either. Elastin is the protein that gives your skin its snap, its bounce. If that elastin gets stiff or calcified, you get deep wrinkles and sagging. Vitamin K2 protects that elasticity, keeps the snap in the rubber band.
That is wild. I never made that connection between bone density supplements and skin elasticity, but the mechanism is the same.
It's all connected. And what's crazy is that for decades, we've been trying to isolate these things. Here's a vitamin E serum, here's a retinol cream. But in tallow, they're packaged together in a biological matrix that preserves them. It's the difference between taking a handful of synthetic pills and eating a nutrient-dense meal. The body just knows what to do with the food better.
Bioavailability. It's not just what's in the jar, it's what your body can actually use. Okay, I'm following the nutrient logic. I really am. But I have to play devil's advocate for a huge chunk of our audience. We've talked about dry skin, we've talked about aging, but what about the listeners who are prone to acne? The listeners who already have oily skin?
The ones who are terrified of putting more oil on their face.
Yes. If I wake up and my forehead is already shiny enough to signal an aircraft, the absolute last thing I want to do is smear cow fat on it. It feels dangerous, like I'm asking for a breakout.
It feels counterintuitive, but this is what we can call the oily skin paradox. And understanding this changes everything about how you treat acne.
Break it down for me.
So most people with oily skin actually have a compromised moisture barrier. They spend years using harsh foaming cleansers, alcohol-based toners, oil-free everything. They're stripping the acid mantle of their skin.
Stripping the floorboard?
Exactly. They remove every drop of natural oil. So the skin panics. It thinks it's in a drought. It enters this panic loop where the sebaceous glands go into overdrive to replace the oil you just stripped away.
So by trying to dry it out, I'm actually training my skin to be greasier.
You are creating the problem you're trying to solve. You're trapped in a feedback loop. Tallow breaks that loop. Because it mimics sebum so perfectly, when you apply it, the skin receives a stand-down order.
A stand-down order?
Ideally, yes. The skin registers that there's plenty of protective lipid on the surface. It signals the glands to down-regulate oil production.
Yeah.
It balances the equation.
That is actually brilliant. So it's not about fighting the oil, it's about convincing your skin it doesn't need to produce so much of it.
Correct. And because tallow is high in specific fatty acids like stearic acid and oleic acid in a balanced ratio, it doesn't clog the pores like, say, synthetic mineral oils do. It flows into the skin rather than plugging the top. The source data explicitly mentions it helps reduce excess shine and prevent clogged pores, which sounds impossible until you understand that feedback mechanism.
So it's a peace treaty. Instead of declaring war on your face with salicylic acid, you're signing a peace treaty with fat.
I love that analogy. A peace treaty for your face. And that extends to sensitive skin, too. We touched on eczema earlier, but the source emphasizes how clean this is compared to standard lotions.
Well, clean is a buzzword. What do they mean in this context?
Look at the back of a standard drugstore moisturizer bottle. You'll see water, which breeds bacteria, so you need preservatives. Then you need emulsifiers to mix the water and oil. Then fragrances to mask the chemical smell. Then texture enhancers.
It's a chemical cocktail.
And for someone with eczema, psoriasis, or even a healing tattoo, that cocktail is a minefield of irritants. Tallow is just fat. It's anhydrous, meaning no water. No water means you don't need all those heavy-duty preservatives, it's just the lipid.
Which makes it safe for babies.
The source specifically listed as safe for infants. Diaper rash, cradle cap. It's gentle enough for the most compromised skin barriers. They even mention using it post-chemical peel or for tattoo aftercare.
The tattoo one makes sense. You need breathable protection.
Right. You don't want to suffocate the wound with petroleum jelly, but you can't let it dry out. Tallow provides that semi-permeable barrier. It protects, but it breathes.
Okay, I'm sold on the science. I really am. But I have one major hurdle left, and it's a sensory one.
The smell.
The smell. And the source. We are talking about beef. Does this stuff smell like a fast food joint? And does it matter where the beef comes from? Because I don't want factory-farmed mystery meat byproducts on my face.
And those two things are directly related. The smell and the quality are tied together. The source, private label beauty, is extremely specific about this. They don't just use tallow. They specify grass-fed, USDA-certified organic beef tallow.
Why does the grass-fed part matter for skincare? I know why it matters for my steak, but for lotion.
It matters even more for lotion. Cows are bioaccumulators. So if a cow is raised on a feedlot, eating GMO corn, getting pumped with antibiotics and hormones, where do you think those toxins are stored?
In the fat.
In the fat. Fat is the storage locker for toxins. So if you use industrial tallow, you are potentially rubbing concentrated toxins onto your skin. But grass-fed cows, they have a completely different fatty acid profile. Higher omega-3s, lower inflammatory markers, and a rich yellow color from the beta-carotene in the grass.
So the diet of the cow determines the vitamin content of the cream.
100%. And it affects the smell. Proper rendering, the process of melting and purifying the fat, removes that beefy odor. High-quality cosmetic tallow shouldn't smell like a roast dinner. It has a very faint, sort of earthy scent, but it's neutral.
And I noticed the source mentions whipped tallow and things like lavender whipped tallow.
That's the other key to making it user-friendly. Raw tallow is hard at room temperature. It's waxy. But if you whip air into it, it becomes this fluffy, cloud-like texture. It spreads like a high-end night cream. And adding essential oils like lavender or frankincense not only boosts the skin benefits, but makes the sensory experience luxurious.
So you're not just scooping lard out of a bucket.
No. It's formulated. It's elegant. It's just based on a different foundation than the water-based creams that we're used to.
It's really fascinating to think about this shift. We spent the last century synthesizing everything. We thought we could outsmart nature with chemistry sets. We isolated molecules. We built complex polymers. We created oil-free everything.
And look at the result. Adult acne is at an all-time high. Skin sensitivity is skyrocketing. Rosacea, eczema, these things are becoming epidemic.
And now the cutting edge of beauty is looking backward.
It's what I call high-tech primitivism. We are using our modern understanding of biochemistry to validate ancient wisdom. Our ancestors didn't use tallow because they were primitive. They used it because it worked. They didn't have the double-blind studies to prove why it mimicked their sebum, but they saw the results.
They knew it healed their windburn. They knew it kept their skin healthy.
Exactly. And now we have the science to say, oh, that's because of the fat-soluble vitamin A and the specific ratio of oleic acid. We aren't discovering something new. We're rediscovering something true.
It challenges that assumption that new always means better.
It does. It forces us to ask, is this new synthetic molecule actually better for my biology? Or is it just more profitable to patent? You can't patent a cow.
That's a huge point. You can't patent nature. Maybe that's why we haven't seen it in the big department store brands.
It's harder to scale, it's harder to stabilize on a shelf for 3 years, and the profit margins are different. But for the consumer who cares about what actually happens at the cellular level, it's hard to beat.
Well, you have certainly given me a lot to think about. I might need to purge my bathroom counter, or at least look at those ingredients lists with a very different eye.
That's the goal. Be a critical thinker about what you absorb.
Before we wrap this up, if there is one thing, one final thought you want our listener to chew on as they go about their day, what is it?
I'd ask you to zoom out from skincare. If our skin recognizes and responds so profoundly to animal-based fats because they mimic our own biology, what other modern synthetic solutions have we over-engineered? Where else in our lives, our diet, our sleep environments, our lighting, are we fighting against our biology with advanced technology when nature already had the perfect formula waiting for us? Are we solving problems or just creating new ones that require new products?
Are we fighting against our biology? That is a powerful question. I'm going to be thinking about that one for a while. Thank you so much for breaking this down for us. It's been a genuine education.
My pleasure.
And thank you to everyone listening. Keep questioning, stay curious, and maybe give the beef fat a chance. We'll see you on the next deep dive.